In this video, we're talking everything about these tiny little chameleon geckos. Got him. Now, the chameleon geckos are another species that are native to New Caledonia. You guys know that that is probably my favorite island on the whole world because it has some of my favorite animals ever. But these guys are one of the tiniest, most adorable little geckos you could get. And they're just as simple to keep as some of the other New Caledonian geckos. What you're looking at here is basically a full-grown male. These guys do not get very big. The females will get a little larger, and they ate the same exact thing that all the crested geckos eat. So the diets and insects. For these guys, we like to feed them 3 to 4 times a week the diet. So we'll mix up some crested gecko diet a couple days a week, and then the insects we'll give them once or twice a week. For this size of a gecko, you're gonna wanna feed pinheads or smaller insects like the 2-week-old crickets. Nothing too big because of course they're not gonna be able to chomp it down. The cool thing about these guys is that they have this tail that if they really feel scared, they will lift it up and secrete a sticky, disgusting substance that will ward off predators. Now, I've never actually had one of these little chameleon geckos do that to me because they're pretty chill in captivity. What they tend to do mostly is puff up and show their big bright orange colors in their mouth and on by their legs. Typically they're pretty tame since they're all bred here in captivity. Doesn't get much cuter than this. Now, the way we raise babies or even single males are in these critter keepers here. As you can see, it's not a very big enclosure. It's super easy to maintain. So we'll actually keep our babies or our juveniles in a single critter keeper just like this. So there are 2 main species of chameleon geckos that are in the hobby. The agricolae, which is the Bauer's chameleon gecko, or the Eurydactylodes vieillardi, which is the Vieillardi's chameleon gecko. Now they're very similar. There's a couple other species as well. The difference is mainly the scalation on their body, but the more common ones are gonna be the Bauer's, like this guy here, or the Vieillardi. Their care is exactly the same for all of them, so no matter which one you decide to go with, you're gonna keep them the same way. For an adult male or even a pair, you could keep them in a 12 by 12 by 18 Exoterra or Zoomed enclosure. These guys are arboreal, like most of the geckos off of New Caledonia that we keep. So we're gonna set up with a bunch of different plants, branches, and basically anything that they could climb around. Personally, we don't do a lot of bioactive enclosures because we do have a lot of animals we sell. It's easier to maintain and clean when we keep it like this, but it's still very attractive enclosure, as you can see. Our palm trees give off these little like twiggy branches that they just dry up and fall, and they're perfect for little geckos like these or little chameleons. We use a lot of vines and fake plants, and as you can see, there's a whole little ecosystem here that they could enjoy. These chameleon geckos are not strictly nocturnal like a lot of the other New Caledonian geckos we keep. These guys will actually be very active during the day, and they're active at night also sometimes. We do like to provide them with UVB at times. Now, I have kept them without UVB also and never had an issue, but if you could provide UVB, I would say do so. Just make sure that you have somewhere where the geckos could actually hide from the UVB and they're not always exposed to it. This enclosure is perfect. Like I said, the humidity and the care is similar to the New Caledonian geckos, so you want to give them a good mist once or twice a day here. Make sure the humidity is around 60 to 80%. The food we just put in a little container like this, a little cup, and we just put that on the floor of the enclosure. The reason they're called chameleon geckos is because, oh, she bit me. That's a first. Because they actually hide behind the twigs like a chameleon. So if the gecko is right here and it sees me approaching, it will rotate and go behind the twig. Most gecko species either kind of like hide themselves in a little hole or something. These guys don't really like use hides as much. They kind of like to be out and about, which is another reason why I like them so much, because it's a gecko that you could actually see during the day. It's not going to be hiding all the time. I do like to provide a lot of foliage so they could feel like, you know, they are very well hidden, because in a bare enclosure, the gecko is going to be stressed out. So as you guys could see here, this is a size difference between the male and a female. The female being this one on my right hand, a lot bigger gecko than the male here. He is about half her size, and it's actually pretty weird that typically, you know, lizard species, the males would be bigger, but with this one in particular, you know, the females reign dominant. Now, them being a very small species of gecko, they can actually dehydrate very quickly, and you don't want to overheat them. So we keep these guys at room temperature. The UVB will sometimes provide a little bit of a hot spot for them, which is all they need, but 75 degrees to 78, maybe 80 degrees is perfectly fine for them. And anything higher than that could be kind of dangerous, so I like to keep them room temperature. No hot spot, no heat bulbs for these guys. And just like that, they're super easy to take care of. And now you guys know how to keep your little chameleon gecko.